The Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, it's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Good Saturday morning, Flagler County. And a good Saturday morning to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. Rich, it's getting closer every day. We are 6 days from kickoff classics and just 13 from the granddaddy of them all, the 17th Potato Bowl.
Yeah, Flagler County Super Bowl, the Potato Bowl, 13 days away. The countdown continues here on the Rich and Mike Sports Show for the return of high school sports to the area with, of course, the Potato Bowl, the FPC Bulldogs, the Matanzas Pirates battling it out for football bragging rights in the county. And, of course, that's going to be on right here on WNZF Radio with Mike Licio and myself on the broadcast, and we're looking forward to it. Last week we had Coach Turner on the show. This week we're going to have Coach Forrest on the show talking about his Pirates as we continue to gear up for what should be a really fun season. And Mike, we've had some good time off. You call what you've had time off, but it seems like you're still out there doing things. But I can't wait to get back at it and broadcast some of these football games. But you have remained busy, my friend. I know that.
I have. I've been able to get around. You know, the people have keeping me busy. I was at a soccer tournament a couple weeks ago with FPC and Matanzas playing in that. And I was actually, before the show, working on the rest of my calendar for the rest of the year and starting to fill it up, because next week we'll have some preseason, not only in football, but volleyball as well. And then after that, the week following, we'll have regular season games in volleyball, golf, bowling, swimming, football, of course. And so it's almost here. And cross country, that was the other one I was thinking of. Cross country will start running too. So it's going to be an exciting time. But yeah, last week, thought it'd be a quiet weekend. But then as I got to looking at my calendar, my daughter, actually, she's now a JV cheerleader at St. Augustine High School. So she went to the UCA camp, and FPC happened to be there. So that was pretty cool. My daughter was talking to some of the FPC girls. She said she took some pictures with them and spent some time with them at the camp. They ran a great camp. The UCA is the Universal Cheerleaders Association. So they run camps and help athletes learn cheers and learn how to be better cheerleaders and better athletes and better men and women in general. So it was a great experience, but I also got to catch up with a couple of FPC participants in that. At the event, we had 3 All-Americans from FPC, Annabelle Machado, Gianna Seifert, and Alexis Rumnick. And Coach Kim Isom was very proud of all 3, as well as the rest of her squad. And I caught up with Coach Isom and Gianna after the event had concluded. They had a showcase Sunday, and I caught up with them after that. Coach, what has the last 4 days been like for the team?
Very exciting. They've done a great job. They've stayed motivated. They've worked really hard, and they've really bonded, and it's been amazing. Tiring, but amazing.
How do you carry this over into competition season?
This is a great builder. UCA camp really gets us prepared, what we're going to start working on going into the next couple months, and, really pushes the team to see what they can do in a short period of time. And, we're just going to carry this momentum. And, we have great leadership this year, so we're just going to use that and keep moving.
You got 3 All-Americans. Tell us a little about them.
Yes, we have 2 seniors and a junior who tried out for All-American. It's been great. It was a privilege, and I'm so happy that they won that.
And their names?
Annabelle Machado, Alexis Rumnick, Gianna Seifert. Sorry.
Gianna, what's this experience been like for you?
This experience has been so amazing, especially as my senior year. We went to a camp last year, and it was great, but this one was 1,000% better. All of our teammates have bonded really, really well. It's been super exciting, not too tiring, a little soreness, but other than that, it's been amazing.
What are you looking most forward to in your senior year?
I'm definitely looking forward to kind of just seeing where I go. I'm still debating between majors, and I'm just excited to enjoy everything. Like, it's my senior year. I just want to get to do everything, grad bash, senior sunrise, and everything.
When you look back on your time at FPC, what will you remember best?
I'll definitely remember all the extracurriculars. I do lacrosse, cheer, dance, and SGA, and I'll just remember all those people, all the support groups, and definitely a couple of my teachers. They made a big impact on me, and yeah.
You're still trying to figure out your major, but have you narrowed it down to a short list of schools?
Yes, I'm between UF, FSU, and USF.
A lot of great seniors coming for you these last couple of years. Leela, Kaylee, how do you carry the bar forward?
We definitely have learned from them. We've cheered with them for 3 years now. And I also did SGA with Kaylee and Layla, so I got to learn from them, kind of talk to them and see. I still reach out to them. I know Annabelle and I do. So if we need help with anything, they're still there, and we just trying to keep raising the bar for the next seniors to come.
And how excited are you for football season?
I am so excited. Go Dogs.
They're going to win the Potato Bowl?
They better. If they don't, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll win.
They better win. There you go. Great job, Mike, getting out there for the cheer competition. Your daughter was there, so congratulations on that. And, yeah, I guess it's kind of their gear up getting ready for the start of the school year and obviously the start of football season, which is such an important sport for cheer.
It certainly is, and then they'll have the competitive season in the winter, over the winter, and they were very good last year, finishing among the top teams at state competition last year. So there's some big shoes to fill. And that's why I brought up Leela Jackson, who we've had on our show. She was also the senior class president a couple of years ago. She's now at Florida State. And then Kaylee Phillips, who was the captain last year, because they have a legacy. And for Gianna to be in that position, there's a lot of expectation that comes with it because of the success of the teams before and the leadership that the captains have expressed before. So it was definitely a fun event. A lot of energy in the room at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. None of it mine, but it was a great event. And, we'll see them out at Sal Campanella Stadium in the coming weeks. And I would assume they'd be at the Potato Bowl too, but I don't know that for a fact. But I would assume they'd be at the Potato Bowl. Everybody else is going to be there for sure.
Oh, 100%. Biggest show in town coming up on August 22nd. Both schools will be well represented at that game. We have broadcasted many Potato Bowls here on News Radio WNZF. And, Mike, it seems like the popularity of the event just grows every single year. And this year, I think the anticipation for it is really at an all-time high.
I think so, too. I think there's a lot of energy in the county, a lot of talk. When you go to talk to the coaches, which you'll hear from Coach Forrest in just a moment, we talked to Coach Turner last week, FPC Media Days this weekend and the blue and white scrimmage, and those players were all excited to talk about the Potato Bowl as well. And I think you and I, and as you'll hear from Coach Forrest and you heard last week from Coach Turner, you and I have a difference of opinion on when this game should be played. I'm a first week guy. You kind of like it later in the season. The coaches don't seem to really care, but I think the players like having it the open season too. I think it gives them something to really lock in that first week of the year going against the county rival. And I'm expecting a great game. I think FPC is going to have a lot of new talent. I think they've done a good job of filling some of the holes. I mean, some of those holes you can't just replace a Hayden Hayes. You can't just replace a Marcus Mitchell or Colby Cronk. But I think they've done a great job of finding players who could fill those roles, and they done a good job of building the rest of the team around them. Matanzas brings back a veteran team with some good veterans on both sides of the ball in the secondary at wide receiver. And I think it's going to be a ball game. I really do. I don't make predictions, and I won't make one here, but I do think it's going to be a very good ball game.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. And, we've seen the Potato Bowl all parts of the season. We've seen it at the beginning of the season. We've seen it at the end of the season. We've seen it in the middle of the season. And regardless of when the Potato Bowl is, it's a big deal here in Flagler County. I do like it at the end of the season because I think at that point, storylines have developed, right? And we know who these teams are. And that aspect of it is very interesting. But I do think there's an interesting aspect to it as well when it's the first game of the season because the storyline is the storyline getting started, right? It's our first look at Coach Turner. It's our first look at some of these players, at these various positions. And, that's the storyline right here and who gets off to a great start. And I do think if you get a close game where both teams are competitive, I think that type of game, regardless of who wins, can propel these teams to good things later on in the season, and obviously, especially for the team that wins it. So when it's the first game, it kind of sets the season up. When it's the last game, it's kind of the bookend. It's the conclusion. It's how are we going to finish here? Are we going to beat our rivals, or are we going to go into the off season off the L. But either way, it's going to be a spectacle and it's going to be exciting.
It certainly will, and for Matanzas, it kicks off a very tough schedule for the first quarter of the year. Flagler Palm Coast, then University. They're at Deltona, which Deltona will be down this year from what I'm told, but they play an Andrew Jackson team that played them really tough last year and won 6-0 on a fluke play, really, that scramble on 4th and long where the quarterback threw up a prayer, and they won 6-0 Andrew Jackson. So that's going to be – so a win against FPC would propel Matanzas into a good spot. And for FPC, I think if they win the Potato Bowl, it gets the ball rolling. They've got Lake Howell the week after, which shouldn't be much of a competition, although that might be a personal feeling between the two of us.
Yeah.
And then they have a tough game week 3 against Mainland, and then Lake Brantley. So they kind of go back and forth the first quarter of the season. They have a couple of tough opponents. They have a couple of not so tough opponents. Lake Brantley, you don't know what you're going to get from year to year. 2 years ago, they were 1-9. 3 years ago, they were in the playoffs. So you never know what you're going to get. And then the back end of FPC schedule is what's tough for them. They've got a very good Fletcher team at the Land, Yulee, at Spruce Creek, and Fleming Island to close the season. They have, I believe, 6 playoff teams on the schedule, if I counted it up correctly. For Matanzas, you'll hear Matt Forrest talk about this. The second half of the schedule, you have the Mainland Buccaneers, Mount Dora, and then Bellevue, which if Matanzas were to beat Mainland on September 26th, that Bellevue game sets up to be a district championship, which is a wild thing to talk about, but it could be. And then they would play Menendez and Palm Bay to end the season. So you'd want to get that ball rolling early, especially for a team like Matanzas, who has a lot of veterans and a team that seems like it's very similar to a couple years ago, where a lot of these it's a heavy senior team that feels like if things bounce their way, they could make a run. And Coach Forrest talks a little bit about his expectations for the season as I caught up with him earlier this week.
Yeah, and we're going to get to Mike Licio's conversation with the coach of the Matanzas Pirates, Coach Matt Forrest, right after this.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
I'm joined by Matanzas Pirate coach Matt Forrest. Coach, how has this first week of fall practice gone for your team?
Oh, I think it's been really good. The best part of it is just it's been such a seamless transition. So I'm really proud of our guys and their all-season workouts. Our Blue Dawn early morning workouts leading up to spring practice, and then I thought we had a really good spring. I thought we've had a fantastic summer, and I think all of that is kind of parlayed into a really good first week of practice. Guys are flying around. We're getting on and off the field, executing at a high level. So sometimes I'm a little bit more cautious than optimistic, but I'm very cautiously optimistic after the first week of practice this year.
On the offensive side of the ball, you bring back a lot of returning starters. How much has that made the summer and spring season work for your team, having that experience on that side of the ball?
It's kind of funny. We were talking about it as coaches, like in staff meetings, and just talking about kind of the waves, kids in our program, and we're going to have a lot of seniors this year, but a majority of those seniors are skill players. And last year, a majority of our seniors were offense and defensive linemen. So it's just kind of funny how our program has gone in waves. In the 23 season, we had all those skill guys, Daquan Evans, Shamarion Gaines, Jordan Mills. I know I'm going to miss somebody, but just really good skill and perimeter players that were able to get us winning a lot of ball games, competing a lot of ball games, scoring some points. And then last year, we were able to hang around in ball games because of the experience on our offensive line. And this year, it's right back to, like you said, we're returning a lot of seniors at the skill positions again. So, hopefully going into my 6th year, if there's any kind of pattern, hopefully that'll translate into some wins on the football field and a potential playoff berth. But, yeah, we just kind of go through those ebbs and flows. But we're very excited to have those returners coming back, and they've been great leaders for our football program all off season and now going into fall camp.
But you do have some experience on the defense. Of course, Ladarian Baker, he'll play a little of both. And in my opinion, I'm going to put him out there as my breakout player again this year. So no pressure, Ladarian. I mean, he lived up to it in football and basketball last year. But he's not the only one on that defensive side of the ball that brings that experience. Yeah, who are you leaning on that defensive side?
I think that, of course, Omar Stewart returning on the defensive line, a guy that played a lot of snaps on the D-line for us last year. We've got some linebackers. I think Wiley Connor had a really good spring. And then, of course, in that back end, it's all kind of anchored by Javonte Patton at free safety. He gets our calls and our checks, and he's just a super cerebral player. And then, Ladarian Baker at the corner, Jaden Dormanville at corner, Jaden McCoy at corner. We got good safeties with Cole Dockhorn, who's, I think, finally ready to play a lot of football and coming off an off-season injury, and Cooper May, who was at linebacker last year out of necessity. Now he's going to be able to play some strong safety for us. And yeah, I mean, we got a lot of talent there on the back end defensively. And our linebackers, I think, have played some football as well. Got some experience last year, even though they were undersized. They fight hard and play hard and do what they're coached to do. So, yeah, we're very fortunate on the defensive side of the ball to have a lot of returning players and some guys that got some really good skill as well.
You had some adversity going into the kickoff classic against a much improved Pine Ridge team, and were able to come out of that. What did you learn from your team from that game?
I think just some resilience. We had some adversity there at the last minute, the last hour. But, we had worked on Cole Hardy being the backup to protect his development. We didn't want to put him in a game situation, under the lights that quick, because he was going to go in a little bit more of a reserve role. So we kind of stuck to that plan a little bit. So he's had a great summer, so very proud of him for stepping up, and he's going to get a lot of JV game reps this year to continue his development. But we also, Jordan Schindorf's going to be able to play some quarterback as well if needed. So it was good to see him perform under the lights a little bit earlier than we would have liked to. That's something we were kind of planning on to go into the Kickoff Classic in this season and kind of start the year there, not finish the spring there. But just the way they handled all of that, the distractions and all those things there at the last minute, they really rallied together, and we were able to, proud of the coaches for being able to make those adjustments. But yeah, I just think the resilience of the group was something that I was very proud of in that moment, especially kind of pointing it all to just the game. Very proud of their resilience.
And you've got a Kickoff Classic coming up in about 10 days from when we're recording this, 12 days from when we're recording this. What are you looking to get out of that game, and how do you get the team ready for that game, knowing that it's a little bit of a different format from a regular season game?
It's basically what the NFL does in preseason. It's going to be, we're going to treat it like a preseason game. It's going to be a dress rehearsal for our guys, along with the JV game as well on the back end. And yeah, just to get the guys out there, to get them used to, to get them back in the routine of going through pregame meal and going through warm-ups and, 7 p.m. kickoff and really just, a final dress rehearsal. So, obviously the main thing is, we want to get out of there injury-free and take care of our players. Once we kind of see what we need to see as far as them being comfortable in a game situation, we want to get those backups in and those JV kids in order to, like I said, the Kickoff Classic, you're 1 week from playing a game that counts. If you lose the Kickoff Classic and go 10-0 in the regular season, they don't put 10-1 with a Kickoff Classic loss. So we treat that just as a final dress rehearsal and, look to get out of there with no injuries, but get the stuff we need to see on film and get guys comfortable and ready to play in a regular season game a week from that day.
Game 1 is the Potato Bowl. It's moved back to the first week of the season this year. Do you have a preference for where that game's played? Whether it's played I know in a couple of years it's been played later in the season and it's been played in the mid-season, but traditionally, for the most part, it's been played that first week of the season. Do you have a preference, or do you just look at it as it's a game on the calendar, you're going to have to play at some point, so it doesn't matter when you play it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a district game. When you got rival games on the schedule like that, that's the way we kind of, we treat Pedro in the same respect. Pedro is a team that's always been on the schedule for us. FPC has obviously always been on the schedule for us. And then you got your district games that are always going to be on the schedule. So, yeah, I mean, you can bounce that game from, 1 to 4 to I think it was maybe 10 one year. Then it was the last game of the season one year. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big game. It's a rival game, and it's one we obviously want to perform well in. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's one of those games you're going to play every year, and them and Pedro are our two biggest rivals. And We obviously want to perform well and win those games, but Mainland is obviously a very big deal on our schedule because they're the defending district champions. And there's only one way to lock yourself into a playoff spot, and that's win a district championship. And you and me have talked in quite detail, some off the air. The fact of the matter is, if we go 2-8, we win a playoff. We're in the playoffs. So, win your district games, get a ticket to the dance, whether that's by guaranteed by winning a district or putting yourself in a position with quality wins, like, Mount Dora is a playoff team, FPC is a playoff team, Pedro Menendez is a perennial playoff team.
University.
Along with Mainland. So, yeah, I mean, we got our schedule to try to put ourselves in a position at the end of the year with enough wins to get an at-large berth, but we also would like to compete for a district championship to guarantee that spot as well.
And Coach, finally, what would you consider a successful preseason, wrapping up fall camp before you get to that first game? What would you consider a successful preseason?
Well, our install schedule is really big to us. We want to make sure that we get in and put on tape what we call our bread and butter, what calls against any offense we play defensively, what are those things that are going to work, or give us a chance to work against anything we see at any point in time and get really good at that. And offensively, the plays that are going to work against any front, any coverage, your bread and butter base plays, really get those on film, get the guys comfortable in understanding that. Even more so than they did in the summer and in the spring. And just really, get out injury-free. We're trying to take care of our guys. Depth is obviously, really anywhere you go in high school, depth is the biggest thing. Depth can win or lose games. Injuries are going to happen. People are going to get hurt. But how is your depth and how deep are you the later in the season you go? So just really trying to get what we need to get done from a physicality standpoint and a mental standpoint while yet getting out of camp heading into that week of the Kickoff Classic injury-free is really important to us.
All right, great interview with the coach, Coach Matt Forrest of the Matanzas Pirates. Great interview, Mike Licio. We react after this.
Jaguars football is officially back. Be there as number 2 overall draft pick Travis Hunter, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and new head coach Liam Cohen take the field for the first time during the 2025 NFL regular season. Secure your seats for when the Jaguars take on the Panthers September 7th by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, right? You're going to be at the bank tonight, Mike.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Jaguars, Steelers. We'll see former Jet great Aaron Rodgers.
I see what you did there. You're messing with me a little bit there.
And we probably won't see him, which is not the worst thing in the world.
No, you won't see him. We're going to react to Matt Forrest and the Pirates, but you bring up an interesting point there because I saw an interview with new head coach of the New York Football Jets, Aaron Glenn, talking about the possibility of playing the starters, and this is so different from what we've experienced the last few years with Coach Saleh and of course, Aaron Rodgers and protecting him and getting him ready for the regular season. Hey, Aaron Glenn says, we're playing. I can't tell you how much we're playing, but the starters are going to play in the preseason. Justin Fields says that he wants to play. He thinks it's great for him and the offensive coordinator to start to get on the same page early. And these are young guys, and this is a new system, and they should play in the preseason. And I'm thrilled with the way Coach Glenn is approaching something, and in this case, approaching the preseason.
And I think you have to do that when you're, especially a first-year coach. If you're a team of veterans, like the Chiefs, for example, the Bills, those teams don't need their starters to play a whole bunch in the first game of the preseason. But I think with the Jets, you're trying to establish a culture, you're trying to set a tone, and you need to do that from the very beginning and get these guys game reps together at game speed. And I think it's very important. But getting back to Coach Forrest, to kind of segue back, kind of what he was talking about. Get what you need to see from the team, and then get them out of there so that you can stay upright and healthy and be ready for the regular season. I think that's the proper way to approach it. Is you got to get those starters some work, but at the same time, once you've seen what you wanted to see, once you've seen them accomplish what you were hoping to accomplish in that game, get them out of there and get the backups in and get that depth developing.
Yeah, and one of the things I really liked about the Coach Forrest interview is that there's no mystery as to what the goals are. The goal is to make playoffs. And even beyond that, hey, we're not, Mainland, we know what they are and how much they've won over the years, the state champions a couple years ago, the whole thing. But, hey, we want to win a district championship, too. If you're 2-8, you make the playoffs. It's extremely important to win your district games. We want to win a district championship. So even if you don't, at least you go into it with the attitude that, hey, anything's possible. We want to win a district championship. We've set ourselves up with the scheduling to get a bid into the playoffs. But you know what? We want to win the district. And I think that's a great attitude for the coach to have.
Yes, and to clarify for people, when he talks about going 2-8, he's not hoping to go 2-8, but they are in a 3-team district, meaning if they win their 2 district games, the other 8 don't matter. If they beat Bellevue and they beat Mainland, then the other 8 regular season games don't matter. They are in the tournament, and so that's why those games hold so much importance, because regardless of how things are looking outside, if you get those 2 district games, it turns into a successful season.
Yeah, you go in as a district champion, possibly. You go in as a district champion and you get into the playoffs, and hey, that means you got a really big win against Mainland to make that happen. That's a dream scenario for the Pirates going into the season. But, there are other ways to get into the playoffs, and that's to win every single game that's in front of you. It doesn't matter who you're playing, whether it's a district opponent or an opponent outside of the district. You want to go out there, you want to have success, and you want to get into the playoffs. So it's that's confident, good coach speak, and I really appreciated hearing that. And as you mentioned, the approach to the preseason, getting these guys in there, and just getting a feel for what this team is going to be. I think this game coming up here, the Kickoff Classic, is going to tell us a lot about the Pirates and how they're going to look that first week against the Bulldogs. And I'm pumped up to see it. And, you even sneak in that question there about when the game is played. And obviously, from a coach's perspective, I think it doesn't matter. You play the teams that are on your schedule, and when that team is FPC, you just got to make sure that you're ready for it, because I don't think anybody's going to lie to themselves. You're not going to come out here and say, this is just any other game. We know the importance of this game. We know how hyped up the crowd is going to be, whether it's at Sal Campanella or it's at the Ship. It's just a next level of environment that you have to prepare for. However, regardless of whether it's the beginning, the middle, or end of the season, you have to be ready for it. So I like what he had to say there.
And you can't hide from it. These kids at both schools, there's a lot of relationships between the players on both teams, and they're going to see each other out and about, and they're going to be texting each other, and they're going to be posting on their social media about it. So you really can't avoid the importance of the game. And to your point about if you don't win the district, well, how do you get into playoffs? Well, Matanzas has tried to make their schedule strong enough. They have 6 teams that made the playoffs on their schedule: FPC, University, Andrew Jackson, Mainland, and Menendez. 7, because Mount Dora as well made the playoffs last year. So they have a very strong schedule ahead of them. At least on paper, it's a strong schedule. You never know how things are going to sort out. But they've put themselves in position that if they are successful, like you said, in winning the games they're supposed to win, that they should have an opportunity to play into November.
Yeah, we saw them play Mount Dora as a team that they lost to last year, as well as FPC. So these are games that you want to have a better showing in and compete in and give yourself a shot to make the playoffs. And obviously, that's what both teams are doing here, whether it's the FPC Bulldogs or the Matanzas Pirates. And they get to start that journey together on August 22nd in the Potato Bowl at the Ship and on News Radio WNZF right here, your home for local sports. So we are looking forward to that here in a couple of weeks. Are you keeping yourself busy before then, Mike, or are you going to try to shut it down a little bit here?
No, I'll be out next Friday. I'll be at the Palaca for the FPC Kickoff Classic. They are having a 3-team Kickoff Classic. So FPC will play a half against Palaca and a half against Terry Parker. Matanzas will be hosting Episcopal at the Ship if you want to stay locally. Otherwise, FPC will be down at Patrick Turner's old stomping grounds in Palaca. I'm not sure the order of who's playing who when. I just know that FPC will play a half against Palaca and then a half against Terry Parker, and then Terry Parker and Palaca will play a half against each other at some point. And then we'll start to dive in some volleyball next week as well.
Oh, it's all right around the corner. The Potato Bowl high school sports make their return right here on News Radio WNZF before you know it. We're looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, Flagler County. That's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show.